We've got a box from Limited Run Games. What's inside? Let's find out. Hi everyone, John here. As you can guess by that opening title card, this has to do with Monkey Island.
Holy monkey bladders! It's Monkey Island!
But before we get to this, here's Monkey Island, series I love. It's a point and click series, it's humorous, you know, we've got all of them here. We've got The Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge here. We've got The Curse of Monkey Island, Escape from Monkey Island, and there's also the Telltale series that we got digitally, Tales of Monkey Island. And yet even despite buying these, we bought them all again on GOG Galaxy, and then now again, Limited Run Games. So yeah, we're gonna see what this is about. So I've been a fan of Monkey Island since almost the beginning. Not quite right at the beginning, but pretty close. First time we saw Monkey Island 2 was like at a family friend's house, and I knew right at the moment when Guybrush comes in and starts to shoo those monkeys away in the opening sequence that this is gonna be a good time. A hilarious adventure quest, you know, point and click series. Speaking of point and click games, I earlier did a review of the art of point and click adventure games, which you can see here. Where's it here? Which side is it? After all these years. Okay, here. So there you go. Yeah, check that out. Okay, now for the part you probably actually want to see, the unboxing. Alright.
Oh boy, oh boy! Gee willikers, is this gonna be swell?
Here we go. This is the unboxing of the Limited Run Games box set of Monkey Island. It's for the 30th anniversary, since the first game came out in October 1990, I think. So, you know, a little bit more than a year late, but whatever. Here we go. Let's finally get to this. Alright, let's put this aside so I don't stab anyone. Okay, so, maybe we should put this on the floor? No, okay, here. I'll just do this here. Alright, so we've got a, can you see that? You've got a LeChuck card. But yeah, on the top here we've got a limited run LeChuck trading card. It's card number 194. So there we go, there's LeChuck. Alright, cool. Okay, wow, here we just got some club news. That's great. Okay, we don't need to worry about that too much. Alright, here we go. Let's get this out of here. Whoa. This is the big deal.
Well, I can't believe you're in Normandy.
It's all packaged in there. Oh. Ugh. Here we go. Alright, I'm going to pull it out like this. There we go. Whoa. Okay. So that's the Monkey Island Anthology. Check that out. It looks like that's Monkey Island 2 art there, right? You can see on the side here, we've got a list of all the games in chronological order. Actually, they're not in chronological order. I noticed later that Escape from Monkey Island and The Curse of Monkey Island are switched around. And on this side, so it's a pretty nice box. Alright, how do you open this thing? Alright, here we go. Okay, so we've got a certificate of authenticity signed by Ron Gilbert.
Will you sign this for me?
Ron Gilbert's the creator of the Monkey Island series. He and Tim Schafer and Dave Grossman made the first 2 games. And I think he helped a bit with the last game as well. So yeah, this is his series and this is his autograph. So, looks like we've got a 4-disc collection of the whole anthology. Let's see, looks like we've got, yeah, we've got all 5 games on there. So you can see that, close up, okay. A couple of things I noticed later on. At the bottom it says disc 22. That's a reference we'll be talking about a little later on. And also there's another error. The sepia artwork behind Escape from Monkey Island and Tales of Monkey Island are erroneously switched. Okay, we've got a Lucasfilm thing. I don't know what this is. It's a USB stick containing all the games, so I guess I have yet another copy. Also, there are retro backups of the first 2 games here, so aside from having the special edition versions of them, you can use these disk images of the original legacy versions for Amiga, Macintosh, or DOS. But yeah, it says Lucasfilm. Before it was LucasArts, it was Lucasfilm Games. Here we have the infamous disc 22 of The Secret of Monkey Island. Isn't that cool, Jace?
Yeah, it's really pretty old, but authentic as well.
Yeah, I think it's like an actual floppy diskette.
I heard some people say it's like a 3D save icon.
Yes, it's a 3D printed save icon, kids. Though it is an actual floppy disk, it might as well have been a 3D printed save icon, because there is no data on it. Thanks to my friend Colin for having a computer with a floppy disk drive to verify that. I guess that highlights the possibility that limited run games likely doesn't expect everyone to have access to an old computer, so they didn't think it was worth the trouble to put something on there. But then it's anticlimactic for anyone if they are able to look at it anyway. I suppose 1.44 megabytes wouldn't hold much, maybe just a wallpaper image, but they could have had an HTML file with links to a website and have art, videos, music, and more. A missed opportunity, but perhaps that could relate to how the joke came about in the first place. This is a reference to a joke in the first Secret of Monkey Island when it says to insert disc 22, but of course the original game didn't come with that many discs, but here it is, disc 22. In older versions of The Secret of Monkey Island, examining a stump in the forest of Melee Island has Guybrush apparently discovering a tunnel to a system of catacombs, but then the game prompts for disc 22 to be inserted for the game to continue. Discs 36 and 114 are also mentioned, which you would think would be ludicrous enough for most people to realize that this is a joke, but apparently not. The LucasArts hint line got many calls about it, so it was removed from later releases of The Secret of Monkey Island.
Just a regular old stump.
In the sequel, LeChuck's Revenge, Guybrush can get lost again, but this time in a jungle on Dinky Island. A call box allows him to call LucasArts, and he can ask about the stump joke, where a frustrated person named Chester doesn't want to hear any more about it.
Who thought up that dumb stump joke?
Do you have any idea how many calls I get a day about that? Don't ask me about it again.
In the special edition, the same voice clips are usually used for the original and modern versions, except here, where in the modern version, Chester is now a man.
Who thought up that dumb stump joke?
Do you have any idea how many calls I get a day about that? Don't ask me about it again.
The disc 22/stump joke is also referenced in the 2017 retro-stylized point-and-click adventure game Thimbleweed Park, which was also created by Ron Gilbert. Kickstarter backers of Thimbleweed Park could have their name in the phone book in the game, as well as record a voicemail, and calling Evan Darkflint Salche gives you this message, which references all 3 discs and the stump.
You have reached Mark Darkflint's cell phone. I'm currently away from my phone and possibly heavily inebriated right now. But that's beside the point. Please leave a bottle of alcohol next to the stump portal if you need to reach me. And for heaven's sake, please return discs 22, 36, and 114 to me, as things are collector's items.
Okay, here we've got a Big Whoop Amusement Park e-ticket. This is a reference to an item towards the end of Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. It's an e-ticket, like the kind you would have seen at like Disneyland or whatever back in the day.
It says E on it.
Strangely though, it can't be redeemed for the only ride actually mentioned in LeChuck's Revenge.
Well, come on then. Let's go ride the madly rotating Buccaneer.
Okay, we got some stuff on the side here. Alright, we've got the Dial-A-Pirate and Mix and Mojo. It's for the copy protection for the first 2 games. So that's pretty cool that they included that here. For The Secret of Monkey Island, you would have to use the Dial-A-Pirate wheel to recreate the face seen on screen, then look up what location they were hanged in, and then type in the year as shown on the wheel. I don't know why I spent a lot of time recreating these face combinations. In LeChuck's Revenge, the Mix and Mojo Voodoo ingredient proportion dial shows 2 ingredients which you have to rotate to put them side by side, and then you have to enter the proportions of each to fulfill the particular voodoo recipe's requirements. These aren't required for the special edition versions. In any case, they are neat collectibles, as they are a nice throwback to when computer games use such devices to discourage unauthorized copying. We got something in the top here. Oh, okay, I can tell what this is here. So we've got The Secret of Monkey Island. And okay, so we've got like posters of each of the games here. We got stuff on the other side. There's like Star Wars reference there. Scab Island map. Got Fat Island map. Booty Island map. Oh yeah, this is the end of Monkey Island 2. This is the map of the underground part. So that's pretty cool. Alright. Monkey Island Chronicles. It's a big book. I'll open this in a second and we can see. But you can see there's like Plunder Island, Skull Island, Blood Island, Monkey and Dinky Island, Scab Fat Booty, many of the islands that you see in the series. Okay, let's get this out of the way. Where's the knife? I know, I probably shouldn't cut towards, right? So, what have we got here? Okay, here's where the real goodies are. Okay. Got some nice silica gel, alright. So, if I can get this out of here. So, we've got Murray! Murray the Skull Guy.
You may call me Murray. I am a powerful demonic force. I am the harbinger of your doom.
It's a candle holder, it looks like.
You know, you'd look great with a melting candle on your forehead.
I get the feeling you're not taking me very seriously.
We've got a statue, what is that, 6 inches? Of Guybrush Threepwood himself, look at that. And that's a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle. That's a reference to the first game.
A rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle. What possible use could that have?
Oh, I've got one more thing for you. Great, a rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle.
So Jason pointed out that there's a hairline fracture on Guybrush's left hand, and according to these photos and video, it was there since the beginning, so that's unfortunate that it came like that. I thought it was shipped pretty well, but oh well. Got some more silica gel, alright. We got some enamel pin sets. Looks like we've got the 3 main characters, Guybrush, Elaine, and LeChuck. There you go. Got a button so you can ask me about Loom, like that pirate in the first game in the Scum Bar.
So, tell me about Loom.
You mean the latest masterpiece of fantasy storytelling from Lucasfilm's Brian Moriarty?
Jeez, what an obvious sales pitch.
That's not the only reference to another LucasArts adventure game. There's also Grim Fandango.
It says, ask me about Grim Fandango.
And also The Dig. And in the costume shop in Monkey Island 2, you can see either the purple tentacle from the Maniac Mansion games, or Sam and Max, depending on if you're using original or modern graphics, which you can freely toggle between in the special edition. And then we have this. This is a part in Secret of Monkey Island where Guybrush is underwater. I think it's probably the only point in the whole series where you can actually die if you're like underwater for way too long.
Funny. I didn't think you could die in LucasArts adventure games. Well, maybe they're trying something different.
Well, if you insist.
There's an Easter egg in the Curse of Monkey Island referencing this if you pick up the seawater repeatedly here.
That guy probably couldn't hold his breath underwater for very long. Too bad. I hope it was worth it for you.
But yeah, the series is known for not dying, so this is kind of neat that they would actually have a shadow box of specifically the one place where you can get stuck. In contrast to others in the point-and-click genre, death is not a thing in many LucasArts adventure games. This is well known, and even joked about in the games themselves.
Rubber tree.
So we've got all this booty here. What do you think is the coolest thing, Jace?
I think the 3D figurines are pretty impressive. It takes a lot of work to do that compared to just printing on paper.
Right. I am impressed with this stuff. And I should probably open this up and take a look at this. Let's take a look at Monkey Island Chronicles. First, let's check out the cover, which has maps of several of the islands in the series. Can you identify the 5 silhouettes seen on the front cover? I've actually revealed all of these items during the course of this video. You can go back and try and find them, though I'll reveal them all at the end. So, this is a 240-page book covering the history and legacy of the whole series, as implied by the in-book title, Monkey Island Behind the Scenes, a 25th anniversary retrospective book. This is odd, as this is a 30th anniversary anthology, so either this was done 5 years ago, or it's a typo. It covers all 5 games, though the first game is discussed most heavily. This is not surprising as we learn about the origins of the world of Monkey Island, and its characters and themes, and overcoming the technical challenges of the limitations of computers back then. The second and third games get a little less coverage, but still a decent amount. The last 2 games don't get much at all. Created from interviews conducted by gaming historians Kurt Kalata and Jeremy Parrish, the book is a recollection of the making of the series from numerous interviewees. These include the creator, Ron Gilbert, and co-creators Tim Schafer and Dave Grossman, along with other directors and artists and other key people across the series, with lovely EGA portraits by game developer and artist Julia Minamata. I like several of the stories in their profiles, like how voice actor Dominic Armato was tied with another voice actor when he auditioned for Guybrush Threepwood for The Curse of Monkey Island, and believes that being a fan of the first 2 games was the clincher that helped him to secure the role. There's a story from artist Mark Ferrari recalling how he was told not to use dithering in his EGA pixel art because dither didn't compress. He went and did some dithered art over the weekend and left it displayed on his monitor the next day over lunch, and came back to find an animated conversation between Ron Gilbert and the head of the games division about why dither didn't and couldn't compress. Because of that, they figured out how to compress it a few weeks later, and that's why the game looks as it does, as opposed to the flat, solid colors in something like Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders. There are other similar stories about how the games came together, considering the technical hurdles at the time. For example, The Secret of Monkey Island and another LucasArts game, Loom, both mostly take place at night because the EGA palette is more blues. The limited EGA palette meant there was careful consideration of colors when crafting scenes, and these intentional creative decisions that Mark Ferrari was proud of were later bulldozed by VGA, which allowed for more colors, but maybe less artistic forethought. Dave Grossman recalls dissatisfaction with the puzzles within the governor's mansion, so he jokingly suggested about how it could be a whole scene hidden behind a wall, and that's how it came to be, and it's probably funnier than what it might have originally been. Deaths are common in this genre, except in LucasArts adventures. Grossman talks about Sierra's games, and how some of the many deaths felt unwarranted, like extremely early on in The Dagger of Amun-Ra, when Laura Bow is killed when merely crossing the street. LucasArts adventure games not having game overs meant less frustration, and certainly helped them to stand out. Tim Schafer, while talking about the editing process, mentions a close-up of a dog, and despite being seen on the back of the box for The Secret of Monkey Island, it had to be cut out of the game. Then there's a story about a strike at the plant where they were putting together the boxes for the game, so the Lucasfilm Games crew went down to the warehouse to help out with the packaging. The 3 creators signed a dirty $1 bill and stuck it in one of the boxes, though to this day, no one has reported finding it. From these stories, you also get a sense of the work environment of LucasArts at the time. Located right at George Lucas's Skywalker Ranch, resembling a turn of the 20th century estate, there was a farm, a man-made lake, and a forest nearby. The employees had extravagant lunches from a 5-star chef, could look at paintings in a gallery, or watch screenings in a theater, and had few arcade machines in their work area. For a time, it sounded like it was a pretty fun place to work, with many employees willing to stay late. It truly feels like capturing lightning in a bottle, having the right people in the right place at the right time to create a series as beloved as Monkey Island. There are random tidbits that pop up in these conversations, like how LucasArts initially wasn't allowed to freely make Star Wars games. I'd actually wondered why there weren't any point-and-click Star Wars adventures. Like, what could be more Lucasy than that? Or how Guybrush voice actor Dominic Armato says he can't watch the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, knowing that they should be Monkey Island movies. That's a whole other story that isn't detailed in this book, though you can look it up, that there is reason to believe the first 2 Pirates of the Caribbean movies took ideas from a Monkey Island movie script, which did not get greenlit.
You cheated. Pirate.
And with Disney's acquisition of Lucasfilm and LucasArts meaning that they own Monkey Island as well, we will probably never see a Monkey Island film that would now seem redundant.
No, that's not true! That's impossible!
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Anyway, back to the book, and about the actual games. There's a fair bit of interesting stuff here. Unearthing Monkey Island's Lost Secrets is a lengthy 24-page feature looking at sprites, backgrounds, and scenes from the original source files that didn't make it into the final version of The Secret of Monkey Island. Unused characters include a buzzard with a Jolly Roger bib, and Governor Fat, who would instead show up in the sequel. Steve Purcell's Sam and Max are also here, though probably not as intended cameos, but likely as test sprites. It's not like they got lost before they ended up in their own game.
If you haven't lost anything, then get out of the lost and found tent!
Touchy.
We also see prototype designs of Guybrush and Elaine, and unused animation frames of Sheriff Fester Shinetop using his sword. I was impressed with the art of the lookout point at the top of Melee Island, drawn from a different perspective, which actually looks very consistent to the final art, just from a different angle, which is cool considering this is pixel art that was redrawn from scratch, not simply rotatable like a 3D model would be. There are various backgrounds, and since you know I like maps, it's no surprise that I really appreciate the fully composited map of Monkey Island here, which has fully restored the shorelines that were partially cut off in the game. Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge also gets a Lost Secrets feature, though there's far less cut content. It's cool to see the cut scenes featuring LeChuck and LaGrande, but with dedicated art instead of the usual sprites. However, Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge has a background check feature which looks at some of the backgrounds in their pre-digitized glory. Instead of doing pixel artwork directly on screen as they did in the first game, background artists Peter Chan and Sean Turner used ink, marker, and paint on paper and scanned them in. We can appreciate the detail of the art, shown here as they originally were. The Curse of Monkey Island also has a background check, but just one page, choosing to focus on night scenes, which are now an artistic choice rather than born out of necessity. But considering the cartoon-like nature of the entire game, it's a little surprising they couldn't dedicate more than a single page for these.
Well, gee, I feel a little guilty now.
And there are the puzzle showcases, which talk about some of the memorable puzzles from the games. Besides merely describing them, there's always some additional context from the creators, like explaining how the idea for the puzzle came about or why they like it. They include transferring the corrosive grog between mugs as they melt from the Secret of Monkey Island to escape from Monkey Island's Mist of Time marsh, where you have to remember your interactions with your future self and recreate them with your past self to avoid creating a temporal paradox. And who could forget using cooking oil to give a sunbather a nasty sunburn so he can peel his map tattoo right off his back.
I really wish I didn't have to do that.
There was no puzzle showcase for Tales of Monkey Island though. As mentioned, this book skews more towards the earlier games, just like the items in this box set, so in turn even this video does that. This imbalance is unsurprising, and almost expected, as there's more to say about the earlier games, which required more thought in creating this world, and were more groundbreaking, but it does feel like there should have been a little more said about the last two games. Perhaps they couldn't secure interviews with the people that made them. Whether that's actually an oversight or not, there were still some minor errors. I earlier pointed out the inconsistency of the title. It's Monkey Island Chronicles on the front cover and spine, but inside it's Monkey Island Behind the Scenes, a 25th anniversary retrospective book, and yet it's been over 30 years. There's a mention of the Curse of Monkey Island Special Edition when surely they meant The Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition. There's a kitchen said to be from Crooked Island, which isn't even a thing, and it's really from Booty Island. Some of the page numbers are wrong in the table of contents, and many pages don't even show page numbers, which makes it frustrating to look something up. But maybe that's just me being nitpicky again. And overall, considering the wealth of information inside, it's a fairly good read, which I would recommend to all fans of Monkey Island. Though it is hard to expect you to actually be able to read, unless you already have it. I don't think it's available at all outside of this limited run games anthology, which you can't get anymore as it's sold out, unless you want to shell out $1,000 on eBay for the whole set. So, be nice to someone who has this and borrow it from them, I don't know. Or distract them by shouting, "Look behind you, a three-headed monkey!" and then take it from them. Then again, that probably won't work on Monkey Island fans.
Hey, look behind you, a three-headed monkey!
Look, a three-headed monkey!
Ah! Then the prophecies were true!
Anyway, that's the book. Okay, here are what the silhouettes on the cover are. You may have noticed there's one item from each game. From top to bottom, we have the rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle from The Secret of Monkey Island. Then the voodoo doll of Guybrush seen on the cover of Monkey Island 2 LeChuck's Revenge. Then there's Murray from The Curse of Monkey Island, the duck from Escape from Monkey Island, and a monkey from the art for Tales of Monkey Island. So, that's Monkey Island Chronicles. Now that I've unboxed this, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a nice tribute to my favorite game series, and, well, one of my favorite game series. So I think Limited Run Games did a really good job here. Yeah, some of their stuff is like, you know, I mean, we got like Dragon's Lair trilogy from them, a couple other things, but I'm most impressed with this out of the admittedly few limited run games products I've gotten. Yeah, like I said, this is probably the 3rd time that I've purchased this series, so I don't know that I necessarily need to play through them again, but it's just nice to get all these goodies. So good job, limited run games.
Wow, this was well worth $59.95 plus tax.
This is cool. This is well worth. I don't remember how much I spent on it. I probably shouldn't even look.
Best 100 pieces of 8 you ever spent. What else do you want?
That's Monkey Island. So, have you played this acclaimed point-and-click series? You definitely should check it out. And if you're not going to spring for this anthology, which is sold out anyways, you can get it on GOG Galaxy. It's pretty cheap.
Never pay more than $20 for a computer game.
A what?
I don't know. Not sure why I said that.
They're all really funny. I recommend the first 2, certainly. I mean, they're all good. I mean, I definitely recommend this series if you haven't tried it. They're just timeless. They're funny. They're a good time. Definitely check them out. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is a good tribute to this awesome series, or would you like to see the limited run games treatment on another series that you might like? I don't know. Just whatever. Comment below if you think this is cool or whatever, or if you think I should do some more unboxings. Because yeah, this is pretty cool. So comment below your favorite line from Monkey Island, or make a Monkey Island reference of some kind in the comments, and let's see if I catch it. As always, if you like what you saw here, don't forget to like and share this video, and consider subscribing if you want to see more.
All we got is YouTubes these days.
Until next time, see ya!
That has to have been the longest story I ever heard. Oh dear.
Hi everyone, John Brush Threepwood here, and I'm a mighty pirate. Wow, that was horrible. Okay, we'll just run with it. Look behind you, a 3-headed monkey! Okay, that was a weird way to end this.